Level 1. The air. You are born into it. You don't choose it, you don't earn it, you just arrive into a world that already has a plan for you. Your birth makes the local paper. Your birth makes some of the national ones too. There is a wing of a hospital reserved for your mother. There is a security detail outside the door before you've opened your eyes. You have a trust fund before you have a name. You have a name before you have a personality. Your parents argue about which last name goes first, because both sides built something, and both sides want their something remembered. You don't know any of this yet. You just cry, and someone very well paid comes running. Your nursery costs more than most houses. Your crib was flown in from Italy. Your first stroller has a security escort. You have a nanny, then a second nanny, then a night nurse, then a rotation of people whose entire job is to make sure nothing ever happens to you. Your parents love you. That part is real. But your parents are also busy building, defending, and expanding something that started before you and will outlast you. You are the newest asset in a portfolio that already includes buildings, companies, and reputations. Nobody says it that way out loud. Everyone treats you that way anyway. You take your first steps on a marble floor in a house with 40 rooms. Nobody films it on a phone. Someone films it with a professional camera, because someone always is. You don't know yet that most children don't grow up like this. You think everyone has a plane. You think everyone has a person whose only job is opening doors. Level 2. The watched child. You are 6 years old, and you go to a school where the tuition is higher than most people's salaries. Your classmates have last names you recognize from magazines. Your teachers know exactly who your parents are before they know anything about you. You get invited to birthday parties that require a metal detector. You get uninvited from some too, because your family and their family are in a dispute over something you don't understand and will never be told about. You have a bodyguard now. He doesn't wear a suit like in the movies. He wears khakis and blends in and stands 15 feet back at all times. You forget he's there most days. Some days you don't. Some days a stranger gets too close at a store and your bodyguard is suddenly between you and them before you even register what happened. You learn slowly, without anyone explaining it directly, that you are a target simply by existing. Not because of anything you did, because of what your family is worth. Your parents fight about money in ways that don't look like fighting to you. They call it the estate, and the structure, and the trust, and you learn those words before you learn long division. You learn that money isn't just money in your family. It's a language. It's a war fought quietly with lawyers instead of raised voices. You want a normal friend once. A kid from down the street whose parents drive a regular car. Your family's security team runs a background check on his parents before you're allowed to have a sleepover. You don't find out about the check until years later. When you do, something in you goes cold. Level 3. The name. You're 14. You realize, somewhere around this age, that your last name walks into every room before you do. Teachers grade you differently. Some grade you easier, hoping for a donation. Some grade you harder, to prove they can't be bought. You never know which one you're getting until the semester's already half over. You get photographed for the first time without knowing it. A stranger with a long lens catches you leaving a restaurant with your father. The photo runs with a caption guessing at your net worth. Comments underneath call you spoiled. Comments underneath call you lucky. Nobody in the comments knows you. Nobody in the comments cares that they don't. Your friendships get complicated in a way your parents warned you about, but you didn't believe until it happened. A boy at school gets close to you fast. Too fast. and it turns out his father is trying to get a meeting with your father. You find out from someone else, not from him. You stop trusting easily after that. You start doing the thing your parents do without noticing you're doing it, watching people a beat too long before deciding if they're real. You ask for something ordinary once, a job at a coffee shop, just to see what it's like. Your parents say no, not because they don't trust you to work, because the second a tabloid finds out the heir to a billion-dollar family is pulling espresso shots for $12 an hour, it becomes a headline about publicity stunts, not about growing up. You learn that even trying to be normal is, for you, a performance. There is no version of your life that isn't being watched by someone. You start to understand, quietly, privately, that you didn't inherit just money. You inherited a name that comes with rules nobody wrote down, but everybody enforces. And you are only 14. There are 7 more levels of this still coming. Level 4, The Apprentice. You're 22 and you've graduated from a school that admitted you partly on merit and partly because your family funded a new library. You don't know the exact ratio and you've stopped asking. Your father calls you into his office the week after graduation. Not a celebration dinner, a meeting. He tells you it's time to learn the business. You start in a department 3 levels below where your name would suggest, because he wants you to earn the floor before you get the corner office. You believe him for about 6 months before you realize everyone in that department already knew who you were on day 1 and adjusted accordingly. You work 70-hour weeks. You take notes in meetings where grown executives twice your age choose their words carefully around you, because anything you repeat at dinner might reach your father by Sunday. You don't want that kind of power. You have it anyway. A senior VP takes you to lunch and spends the whole hour subtly campaigning for a promotion through you instead of through his actual boss. You realize, sitting there, that you are no longer just an employee. You are a channel. People will use you to reach the top, whether you want to be used or not. Your father starts including you in real decisions. Not big ones yet, but real ones. A contract worth $40 million. A hiring decision that will define a department for a decade. You get it wrong once, badly, and the company loses $6 million on a deal you championed. Your father doesn't yell. He's quieter than that. He just says, "That one's on you," and walks out. You spend that night replaying the deal in your head until 4 a.m. You learn that in this family, mistakes with your name on them cost more than mistakes with anyone else's. Level 5, The Successor in Waiting. You have a sibling, maybe 2. And somewhere around your mid-20s, without anyone announcing it, a race begins. Nobody calls it a race. Everyone knows it's a race. Board members start taking sides quietly, calculating which of you will run things one day, positioning themselves accordingly. Family dinners get tense in ways they weren't when you were kids. Your sister starts closing bigger deals on purpose, timing the announcements for when your father is in the room. You start doing the same thing, without admitting that's what you're doing. Your parents insist they don't play favorites. Your parents play favorites. Not maliciously, they just can't help it. One of you reminds your father of himself at that age, and he lights up differently around that one. You learn to read the room in ways that have nothing to do with business and everything to do with survival. A cousin who works 2 levels below you starts spreading small, careful rumors about your judgment. You find out from an assistant who probably shouldn't have told you. You don't confront the cousin, you just remember. Everyone in this family remembers everything. It's not bitterness, it's just how the ledger works. You start therapy that year, quietly, paid for in cash so it doesn't show up on any family accountant's radar. Your therapist asks what you actually want. You realize, sitting in that chair, that you've never once been asked that question by anyone in your own family. Everyone has only ever asked what you're going to do with what you were given. You're running a division now. Real numbers. 400 employees whose paychecks depend on decisions you make in a room your father used to sit in. You are 29 years old, and people twice your age call you sir or ma'am and mean it. Or pretend to mean it well enough that you can't tell the difference anymore. A factory under your division has a safety incident. Nobody dies, but 3 people are hurt badly enough to make the news. Your name is the one attached to the headline. Not your father's. Not the plant manager's. Yours. You spend a week in meetings with lawyers instead of grieving the fact that people got hurt on your watch. Because grieving doesn't fix the exposure, and the exposure is what the family is worried about first. You start to understand that in this world, the emotional response and the strategic response happen on 2 separate parallel tracks, and you're expected to run both at once without either one slowing you down. You close your first deal that's entirely yours. No advice from your father, no safety net. It's $200 million, and it works. For one night, you feel like you earned something instead of inherited it. The feeling lasts about 36 hours before the board starts asking what's next. Because in this family, a win isn't a finish line. It's a new baseline. Level 7, the arrangement. You fall in love. Or you think you do. Either way, the family gets involved before the relationship is 6 months old. There's a background check nobody admits to running, but everyone knows was run. There's a prenup drafted by attorneys who bill $1,200 an hour, presented to the person you love like it's just paperwork. Like it isn't also a message. We are protecting this before we protect you. Your partner signs it. You watch their face when they do. Something in their expression changes and never fully changes back. You tell yourself it's just business. You know, somewhere underneath that, it's also a wound you put there yourself. Even if the family's lawyers held the pen. Your wedding costs more than most people's homes. It's covered by 3 separate outlets before the invitations even go out. Because someone on staff leaked the date for a fee you'll never trace. You wanted 80 guests. You got 400. Because half the list was your father's business relationships disguised as well-wishers. You stand at the altar and realize the happiest day of your life is also, somehow, a corporate event with a seating chart negotiated like a treaty. A year in, you find out your spouse has been quietly meeting with a divorce attorney, not because they want out yet, but because everyone who marries into a family like yours eventually learns the same lesson. You protect yourself early. Or you don't protect yourself at all. You don't confront them. You just understand, finally, completely, what your father meant the day he had you sign that prenup yourself. Love in this family is real, but it is never undefended. Level 8, the inheritance. Your father has a heart attack on a Tuesday in October. You find out over the phone. In the middle of a meeting you don't remember ending. He survives it, but something in the family shifts that day that never shifts back. The doctors say 6 months, maybe a year, if he slows down. He doesn't slow down. Men like him don't know how. You watch him try to run an empire from a hospital bed, signing documents a nurse has to prop up for him, and you realize you are watching your own future rehearsed in front of you before you're ready to see it. He dies in March. The funeral is private, but the obituary runs in 4 major papers, and the stock of the family company dips 2% before the market even opens the next day, because grief in your family is also information. You stand at the front of a church full of people you've known your whole life and people you've never met, who all somehow knew your father better than you did, or say they did. You deliver the eulogy. You don't remember most of it. You remember your hands shaking on the podium and your mother's face and the exact moment you understood that the empire didn't pause for your grief. It was already looking at you, waiting. The will is read 4 days later. It is exactly as complicated as you feared. Voting shares split unevenly. A cousin gets more than expected. Your sibling contests a clause. Lawyers you've known since childhood suddenly speak to you differently, more carefully, because you are no longer the heir. You are, as of a Tuesday afternoon in a conference room, the one actually holding it. Level 9. The custodian. You run it now. All of it. The company, the foundation, the real estate, the family office that manages money for 11 relatives who mostly resent how much of it you control. You are 40 years old, and you have not had an unscheduled day in 6 years. Every hour of your calendar belongs to someone else's request. Your siblings want more control than the will gave them. One of them hires a lawyer to challenge a trust structure your father set up decades ago. It's not really about the money. It's about being seen as equal, and you understand that better than anyone, because you spent your whole childhood chasing the exact same thing. You settle it quietly, expensively, and it still costs you the relationship for almost 2 years. You give away $80 million to causes you actually believe in, and somehow it still isn't enough for the people who write to you asking for more. Or enough to quiet the voice in your own head asking if you're doing any of this right. You hire people to manage the people who manage the money. Layers on layers. Somewhere underneath all of it is a business your grandfather built with his hands, and some days you feel like you're the only one left who remembers that, and other days you're not sure you remember it either. Your own children are watching you now, the way you once watched your father. You catch your 10-year-old correcting a household staff member's grammar in a tone that isn't hers. It's yours. It's your father's. It skipped a generation and landed anyway. You sit her down that night and try to explain something you're still not sure you understand yourself. That none of this makes her better than anyone, only different. And different is a harder thing to carry than people think. Level 10. The legacy. You're 78. The house is quieter now. Your mother passed years ago. Most of the people who built this with your father are gone too. The lawyers, the first accountant, the man who used to stand 15 feet behind you at every school event. You outlived almost everyone who made you who you are. Your children run things now, the way you once did, the way your father once did before that. You watch them fight the same quiet fights over voting shares and control that you fought, that your father fought, that probably goes back further than anyone alive still remembers. You want to tell them it gets easier. It doesn't. You want to tell them the money isn't the point. You're still not fully sure that's true, even now. You sit on the porch of a house that isn't even the biggest one your family owns anymore, And you think about the boy who took his first steps on a marble floor, while someone filmed it for reasons that had nothing to do with him. You wonder what you would tell him if you could. You don't know. He wouldn't have believed you anyway. Nobody born into this ever does, until they're the ones standing where you're standing now. Somewhere, in a hospital wing reserved for people like your family, a baby is born tonight. There's a security detail outside the door before the baby has opened its eyes. There's a trust fund before there's a name. The nurses already know not to say too much to the reporters gathering outside. Nobody has told the baby anything yet. They don't need to. The name will do the talking for the rest of their life. The cycle continues.